Julie gave back to our family the offering meditation. So I was like, I'll take it, because I would love to tell you about Calcutta, because I'm so thankful for this church. I really felt very supported and very sent off and very encouraged and prayed up before I left and throughout. And so I wanted to come back and help you to gain just a little taste of how much God really did through the trip. So I will try to tell you a few stories and not tell you all of them, because that would take forever, but just to give you a taste of what God did. I want to show you a map so you can get an idea of where I went. The first star on the far end is by Calcutta, and that's where I was the first 2 weeks working with the Missionaries of Charity. And then the second star is south of Mumbai on the west side, and that's Jamkhed, where I was in a rural village area. So the next picture is of my team that I went with from my school, minus one guy who actually took the picture. And then the next photo is of John and I at CRHP. This is the only photo of John, but I knew you would want to see it. Very handsome. Yes. I have another one on the computer if you want to have a close-up. Well, anyway, that's not the point of my offering meditation. That is why I had a small picture. But anyway, and then the next photo is of where I want to start talking. Okay. Under every crucifix that is in any Missionaries of Charity building, they have the words, "I thirst." And I didn't really know what that meant. And so Mom had given me several Mother Teresa books that I started reading while I was there, which was really great, that I was able to get a larger perspective of who she was and what she believed while we were there working. And it has a dual meaning for Mother Teresa. These are words that Jesus said on the cross, and then that's written in John. And for her, for Mother Teresa, it represented that Jesus became literally human, that he really was thirsty and was hungry and experienced those human things, and that he was able to experience every joy and every suffering that we can experience as humans because of his love for us. But also, she felt like it represented that Jesus was thirsty for the love of all of his people, of all of his children, and that we can answer Jesus' prayer and Jesus' desire by giving ourselves entirely to his call for us, which is to alleviate the poor, suffering, and thirst, which is basically everyone around us. And that's spiritual hunger and thirst and physical thirst as well. And so that is something that I read like the second day that I was there, and that kind of encapsulated for me what I was doing. I was seeing Jesus in these people that I was able to serve, and also I wasn't just helping them out a little bit, because really what we were doing was a very little bit, but I was answering Jesus' prayer and being obedient. And so in this idea of like offering oneself to be an answer to Jesus' prayer, that's how I feel like it ties in with this offering meditation. I felt like Jesus asking me to offer several things. One thing is he was asking me to offer my expectations. On the next photo. This is a photo of like one of the dispensary signs. That's where I ended up working. I've eagerly anticipated going on this trip for over a year. So I had lots of dreams and lots of expectations of what it would look like and what I would get to do. And I really wanted to work for the home for the destitute and dying. That was my dream and my expectation. And that's not what happened. I arrived and they're like, "Oh, you're a nursing student. We really, really need help working in the dispensary or clinic." And I had this struggling moment as I'm at registration. Okay, that's not really what I was planning on doing, but you need my help and I would love to help you. And so I was tempted to be disappointed for a while, but God really helped me as I offered my expectations of this is not what I thought the trip was going to be like, but I know that you're working and I know that you have a big plan and I believe that you can work in this. And so really for several of the days I was working mostly as a pharmacist, counting out pills, and I didn't have a lot of personal interaction. I'm this is not what I thought it was going to be like, but I think I'm supposed to be obedient. And what ended up is that I see the love and the grace that God really did have for me. By allowing me to be a part of the dispensary, he really gave me a huge variety of experiences that I would not have got had I stuck with my plan of what I thought was best. And I was able to see a village and do a general clinic there, and I was able to see another big clinic where there were like hundreds of people, and I was able to help out there. I was able to go to a leprosy clinic through this. I was able to actually get to go to the nursing home for the women one day when the dispensary was closed. And then the final 2 days of the whole trip, I did get to work with the Home for Destitute and Dying. And God knew that I loved the idea of getting a wide variety, to get to see so many things that He was a part of. And that first day, I didn't think that I would get to do any of those things. When I offered up my expectations, like, here you go, like, this is what I have, you know? And He ended up blessing me tremendously. And He knew my heart desire was to see what medical care was like in India, and He answered that prayer. And He gave me mentors in 3 different nurses from all over the world, England, Ethiopia, and New York, who really stepped alongside and really encouraged me to keep going in school. So not only did I offer up my expectations, God completely exceeded them. I also felt like I was supposed to offer up my comfort zone. The next photo. This is just one snapshot of Calcutta. And before the trip, one of my prayers was for boldness. I knew that this was going to be a trip way out of my comfort zone, and that was very true. And I didn't want to be afraid to try new things. And so I was like, God, you're going to have to be my shepherd and my guide, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know what this is like, and it's kind of overwhelming, but I will trust you. And because of the variety of things that I did, I never was able to get into that swing of things. Like a lot of my friends on the trip, they did the same thing all 2 weeks. But I didn't. I never knew what I was doing. And the Missionaries of Charity, their strong suit is non-instructions. They just show up and they're like, here, figure it out. And I got to do that every day. And so every day I was out of my comfort zone. I'm like, okay, God, you're going to have to give me instructions because there are no instructions. And I grew so much and really learned so much. I also got out of my comfort zone a lot and like meeting a ton of new people and just not being afraid to go up, introduce myself, start a conversation, hear their story. New situations, I ended up being the map girl, as like for navigating the streets of Calcutta. I'm not really that great at directions, but it was like, for whatever reason, I got it and figured it out. I'm like, okay, let's go. You know, turning left, okay, there's crazy traffic, okay, go right now, you know. And it was really cool to see God step up and really help me to have lots of boldness. At the second place that I was at, it's called the Comprehensive Rural Health Project. There was one day where there were a bunch of ladies and they were doing some training. They were village healthcare workers. And all of the volunteers, or all of the staff members who knew English had left already. I'm like, I could leave now, but I don't really have anything to do, or I could just go and sit with them. And they don't know English, I don't know Hindi or Marathi, but okay. And so I just went in and embraced the uncomfortable awkwardness. We ended up having this like really great 30 minutes where we really connected, and their 10 words of English and my like 2 words of Hindi and a camera, and we like had this like really great moment where I was like, okay, this is what it's about. I'm just saying, God, you know, help me get out of my comfort zone. So it really became a blessing. I also offered up, the next photo, my box of how things should be done in a lot of different ways. I think as Westerners, it's easy to come into a new situation and think, well, this is how it's supposed to be. This is what's right. This is the way that it should be done. And the beautiful thing to see firsthand is that I got to learn how the Missionaries of Charity did their ministry and how the Comprehensive Rural Project did their ministry, and not insert my like frame of reference of, well, that doesn't look like a great idea, so that's wrong. But just say, oh, I can appreciate them for what God is doing, and just because it's different than how I would do it doesn't mean it's bad. And that's exactly what the model of care is like at the Comprehensive Rural Health Project. These are the ladies that I hung out with for half an hour. Yamunabai, on this far side of the screen, has been a village healthcare worker since 1978. And CRHP really puts a lot of trust in these village women. They're from the lowest caste of society, and a lot of them are illiterate. And their model of how to bring health to this very rural village is to train them up and say, we trust you. We trust that you know really good solutions that work for your village, versus us coming in like offering these standardized solutions. And so they work together to try to solve problems. And that was so cool to get to see this we really want to see what God's doing in you, and we want to come alongside and bless that and really be facilitators to create these long-term sustainable solutions because they're from their own village. I really also was able to offer my dreams. I've always had dreams since I was a little girl to live in India someday and be a nurse. And there was a day on the trip, the Saturday, like right before I left, I'm like, I don't know what this would look like. I have no idea what God is doing. I don't know how I fit into this mess of anything. I just can't figure it out. And I was very confused that day. I was just like, why do I care about India so much and I can't figure this out? And God was just saying, trust me, like I'll work it out. I'm not necessarily going to give you the answers on this trip, but I love your dreams and I will guide you. And God worked it out that I got to talk to the director of the Comprehensive Rural Health Project completely unexpectedly that evening after I had this like breakdown session. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here and I don't know what to do with my life and like all these things. God's saying, I know your dreams and I know you want to talk to him and pick his brain and like hear his heart on all this stuff. And so I do know that he will fulfill my desires to be a part of something like this someday, somewhere, and I don't have to worry about that. Whether that's in India or Indiana, I don't have to take matters into my own hands because God knows what I care about and he knows and he'll direct me. I also offered my obedience to just follow God's call for my life now and in the future. I I experienced two different heroes of the faith while I was there. In the next photo. Oh, yeah, that was for the previous one. This is just Village India, on the side of the road. Okay, the next one. Okay, so Mother Teresa, obviously, the founder of Missionaries of Charity. And then on the other photo is Maybell and Raja Rolay, who founded CRHP. And they're just phenomenal people who just gave up everything to do exactly what God asked them to do. And it's very easy to kind of deify them and say they're these superhumans of people. I could never do anything like that. But being there in the mother house and being there on the compound, it's like, oh, they were just people like me who just were obedient and did what God asked them to do. And so I don't have to be like them or like maybe someday I'll be like that. But if I'm obedient when God asked me to do, and if you are obedient when God asked you to do, he honors us just as much. It might not be as glamorous, and it's certainly not glamorous. They had lots of sacrifices that they made, but we would be considered faithful if we were obedient, and that was really evident throughout. I felt like they were going to walk around the corner, any minute. They've all passed on to be with God, but that's what I want at the end of my life, for God to say, well done, good and faithful servant, in what I've given you to do. And that might be a small thing, and that's okay.